Honourable members, please be seated. Honourable members, we will continue from where we left off to adjourn for morning tea and with the ministerial statement. I will now call on the Minister for Women, Children and Social Protection, the Honourable Shashi Kiran, to deliver her statement. Madam, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Yandavinaka, Namaskaram and a very good morning to you all. Mr. Speaker, Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers, Assistant Ministers, Honourable Leader of Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament. Today, we mark International Day for Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. And I rise today to reaffirm Fiji's unwavering commitment to eliminating all forms of violence against women and girls. Our national priority that stands at the heart of pursuit of justice, equality, and inclusive development. Violence against women and girls encompasses a range of harmful behaviors directed at women, rooted in patriarchy that causes gender inequality and discrimination. It manifests in various forms, including physical, emotional, sexual, and economic abuse, as well as harmful practices such as trafficking. Violence against women and girls is not confined to the private sphere. It permeates every dimension of society, affecting national development, social stability, public health, and the safety and dignity of all Fijians. Addressing this issue is therefore not only a women's matter, it is a national priority, requiring engagement from every sector, every institution, and every leader in our country. Mr. Speaker, Fiji records one of the highest prevalent rates of gender-based violence in the world. The cost of violence is not only emotional, it is national. The economic impact is estimated to be equivalent to 7% of Fiji's GDP. Affecting families, our health system, productivity, and the nation's development. And yet many remain silent due to stigma, fear, and shame. That is why our response must be survivor-centered and above all, accessible to everyone, including women and girls with disabilities and those from diverse sexual orientations and gender identities who face heightened risks and deeper barriers to seeking assistance. Around 60% of Fijian women have experienced some form of violence in their lifetime. And 64% of ever partnered women have endured physical or sexual violence from their intimate partner. Police data shows that girls between the ages of 13 and 17 continue to be the most vulnerable to sexual violence in our country. From 2020 to 2024, a total of 4,159 child sexual offense cases were recorded nationwide, and 70% of these cases involved girls. For our women and girls with disability, the risk of abuse is even higher. There is another form of violence unfolding, Mr. Speaker. 70% of HIV/AIDS cases are men, largely through injectable drug use. And they spread the virus to their wives and partners. And now we have increasing transmission from women to their newborn babies. Mr. Speaker, elderly women are increasingly becoming targets of violence as well. In 2024 alone, 122 cases were reported among women aged 60 and above, almost double the number recorded in 2023. This sharp increase tells us that elder abuse, including sexual violence, is not only occurring, but is finally becoming more visible and more frequently reported. These realities expose a dark truth. The cycle of gender-based violence in Fiji spans across generations, from our girls to our grandmothers. As a nation, we can no longer allow silence, stigma, or fear to shield perpetrators. Today, harm is no longer confined to physical spaces. It now crosses digital borders, amplified by technology, anonymity, speed, and reach. Women and girls face cyberbullying, non-consensual image sharing, digital stalking, hate speech, and fake online content. These attacks silence women's voices and erode confidence in leadership. The government, our coalition government, has taken decisive steps in recent years to strengthen prevention, protection, and coordinated action. The rollout of the National Action Plan to prevent violence against all women and girls represents Fiji's historic shift towards a unified, evidence-based prevention agenda. The Service Delivery Protocol is a key mechanism that ensures coordinated, survivor-centered response, strengthens accountability, and promotes consistent, high-quality services for women and girls. The protocol is currently being updated following the June review process, with its finalization scheduled at validation workshop this week. Following Fiji's constructive dialogue on CEDAW in April 2025, we have intensified efforts to implement the concluding observations, ensuring that our policies and programs remain fully aligned with international obligations. Strengthen coordination through the National Women's Machinery, together with cross-ministry partnerships, and has enhanced the delivery of gender-responsive services. We are investing in the capacity of frontline responders, including police officers, healthcare workers, social service providers, and community advocates who play a vital role in ensuring safety, justice, and timely support for survivors. Community outreach programs in collaboration with faith-based organizations, traditional leaders, and youth groups continue to drive awareness and promote behavioral change at the grassroots level. Mr. Speaker, the government is also deepening its focus on primary prevention, recognizing that lasting change requires addressing harmful norms, attitudes, and behaviors that perpetuate violence. This includes engaging men and boys as partners, empowering faith leaders and community gatekeepers, and strengthening interventions within schools, workplaces, and youth leadership programs. Preventing violence before it occurs is our most powerful long-term strategy. At the same time, we remain committed to ensuring survivor-centered and trauma-informed support services. The government works closely with partner organizations, including funding toll-free lines 1560, that's the National Domestic Violence Helpline run by Fiji Women's Crisis Center, and 1325, Child Helpline run by Medical Services Pacific. This involves working with partners to provide shelters, counseling services, and access to justice, healthcare, and social protection. I wish to acknowledge the essential contributions of civil society organizations, community-based groups, and frontline responders who remain at the forefront of supporting survivors and advocating for safer communities. I particularly wish to pay tribute to Shamima Ali and Fiji Women's Crisis Center for their tireless advocacy on elimination of gender-based violence over the years. I also pay tribute to Fiji Women's Rights Movement, House of Sara, Fiji Council of Churches, Empower Pacific, Medical Services Pacific, and all the CSOs and faith-based organizations, advocates, researchers, and frontline service providers. I thank the Methodist Church for launching their domestic helpline yesterday. I also wish to thank all our development partners who have supported us in this ongoing fight, including the Government of Australia, New Zealand, UN Women, UNFPA, SPC, among other agencies. The civil society movement and our partners are leading 16 days of activism against gender-based violence from 24th November to 10th December 2025. Mr. Speaker, this period serves as a strategic platform to raise awareness, promote prevention, strengthen community engagement, and ensure accountability at both national and local levels. The 2025 campaign theme, Support the Survivor, Report the Abuse, and End Impunity Online and Offline, has been carefully designed and calls on bystanders and anyone who knows if violence is occurring in a family to support the survivor and help report the matter. During these 16 days of activism, we have integrated national events and public advocacy with divisional initiatives engaging communities across central, northern, and western divisions, including remote places such as Tavioni and Rotuma. Mr. Speaker, these national and divisional activities demonstrate our resolve to integrate prevention, protection, and community engagement and accountability in a coordinated and inclusive manner. Importantly, they reinforce that the elimination of violence against women and girls requires the participation of every Fijian across all communities, divisions, and institutions. Together, through sustained commitment, strategic policy action, community engagement, and leadership at all levels, Fiji can achieve a society where all women and girls are safe, empowered, and able to contribute fully to national development. Our efforts during these 16 days of activism and beyond underscore that prevention, protection, and accountability are not optional. They are the very foundation of a just and equitable Fiji. To conclude, Mr. Speaker, I call on all members of Parliament, communities, organizations, and even individuals to work together with renewed determination. Ending violence against women and girls is not merely an aspiration. It is a responsibility we must uphold with unity, compassion, and resolve. Let us stand together to support the survivors, report abuse, and challenge harmful norms, creating safe, inclusive, and empowering communities. Through sustained collaboration and committed action, we can eradicate gender-based violence and ensure a brighter, safer, and more equitable future for all Fijians. Mr. Speaker, I pay tribute to every girl child, every woman who has suffered domestic violence, and call on anyone suffering currently to seek assistance on our toll-free line 1560. May God bless our women and girls. May God bless Fiji. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank the Minister, the Honourable Kiran, for her statement. I will now invite the Leader of the Opposition or his designate for his response. I recognize Honourable Viran Lal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise today to acknowledge and lend my voice and the voice of the opposition to this crucial ministerial statement delivered by the Minister for Women, Children and Social Protection. The elimination of all forms of violence against women and girls is not and must never be a partisan issue. It is a fundamental national mission that transcends all political divides and for which every member of this Parliament shares equal responsibility. I commend the Minister for bringing this statement forward today, marking the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. It correctly places this issue at the heart of our pursuit of justice and equality. We on this side of the House wholeheartedly share the conviction that respect for all our women and girls stand at the very core of the values we hold dear, to fear God and respect our community. We must be brutally honest about the state of our nation. We all celebrate the natural beauty and warmth of the Fijian spirit. We cannot look away from the shameful fact that the prevalence of violence against women in Fiji is alarmingly high. As alluded to by the Minister, and we can see many reports of violence on Facebook. Recently, we have seen a police officer handcuffing the wife and beating her. And today I'm reading a housewife being dragged out of her house and beaten by the husband. And when she goes to report the matter is not reported. When she goes to the hospital for the medical report, the report is missing. Sir, this violence is not simply a matter of private disagreements. It is a systematic violation of human rights fueled by deep entrenched gender inequality. It is a consequence of harmful social norms and particular attitudes that continue to permit the entitlement of men to control and dominate women. This is where the challenge to the government and all of us begins. Where is the agency in the execution of our plans? This leads me to the most critical educational component of this discussion. I speak now not just as a member of Parliament, but as a son, a father, and a member of the community. We must address the most heartbreaking cause of this epidemic, the intergenerational transmission of violence. When a child, particularly a young boy, grows up seeing his father, a primary male role model, use aggression and physical force to control or settle disagreements with his mother, that boy internalizes a dangerous lesson. He learns a behavioral script that violence is acceptable, that it is a tool for achieving control, and that it is somehow a definition of strength and masculinity. He learns this not in a textbook, but in his own home, the place that should be his sanctuary. The fortunate reality is that a boy who witnesses this violence is statistically at a significantly higher risk, as much as 10 times higher, of becoming a perpetrator himself in his adult relationships. This is how the tragedy perpetuates itself. The unhealed trauma of one generation becomes the violent act of the next. We cannot We must not allow this cycle to continue in the beautiful islands of Fiji. Therefore, the most powerful and enduring campaign is a personal one, beginning in our own homes and communities. We must actively and consciously work to teach our sons a better way. We must redefine masculinity, teaching them that true strength is found not in physical dominance, but in gentleness, patience, and respect. We must teach them that they are powerful precisely because they have the capacity to choose respect over reaction, dialogue over aggression, and love over control. We must make it a daily practice to love, respect, and cherish the women and the girls in our lives. We must elevate our daughters, reminding them of their inherent worth, their intellect, and their right to safety and equality. But equally, we must raise our sons to be the champions of that worth, the protectors of that safety, and the partners in that equality. Every father, every grandfather, every teacher, every community leader has this sacred duty. The Fiji National Action Plan to prevent violence against all women and girls is a commendable roadmap. We in the opposition fully support its objectives, but we demand transparent execution and measurable results. It gives us the tools for public education, and the campaigns are helping to break the cycle and shift our culture. The government must now translate commitment into consistent year-on-year funding, accountable enforcement of our laws, and sustained support for the civil society groups who are doing the heavy lifting on the front lines. Today, we commit our collective will. We shall not be silent. We shall ensure that the safety of every Fijian woman and girl is our personal, non-negotiable mission. We will work tirelessly, and we will hold the government to account until every corner of Fiji is a place where respect is the only currency and where every child grows up free from the violence of the past. Thank you, sir. Minaka.
I thank the Honorable Virendra Lal for his response on behalf of the opposition. I next call on the Minister for Fisheries and Forestry, the Honorable Lalithiya Mbanyuvalu, to deliver her ministerial statement.
The Honourable Speaker of Parliament, the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers and Assistant Ministers, Honourable Leader of Opposition, Honourable Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, viewers tuning in live on Parliament's Facebook channel, Nisaya Ndowinaka. Honourable Speaker, I rise to deliver a statement on the Ministry of Fisheries' strategic approach to combating illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing in Fiji fisheries waters. Honourable Speaker, Fiji being a large ocean state with an exclusive economic zone of approximately 1.3 million square kilometers, primarily face challenges of monitoring, control, surveillance, and enforcement. Honourable Speaker, our vast exclusive economic zone is more susceptible to illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing of its fisheries resources. Honourable Speaker, IUU fishing involves the violation of fisheries regulations and the management measures that protect fish stocks and biodiversity. IUU fishing is about fishing for commercial purposes without a fishing license, or poaching in marine protected areas, or using prohibited fishing gears such as dynamites and underwater breathing apparatus, or catching and selling prohibited and undersized fish, or non-reporting and misreporting of fisheries catches. Honourable Speaker, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing occurs in all types of fisheries, from riverine and inshore areas within customary fishing right areas to archipelagic waters, territorial waters, the EEZ, and the high seas. The increase in domestic and international demand for seafood, along with limited alternative livelihoods, the push for higher profits and financial incentives, and weak regulations creates an environment conducive to illegal fishing. Honourable Speaker, IUU fishing results in a loss of approximately 50 million Fiji dollars, an equivalent of 2.1 million US dollars in annual revenue to our blue economy. Honourable Speaker, Fiji's strategic approach moves beyond simple physical patrolling of our fisheries waters to an intelligence-led approach to improve monitoring, control, and surveillance in those waters. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Fisheries is heavily investing in enhancing the monitoring, control, surveillance, and enforcement of our fisheries waters through the review of fisheries regulations, the adoption of advanced technologies, and the strengthening of international and regional cooperation, as well as further alignment with international seafood best practices. The Ministry coordinates the monitoring, control, and surveillance and enforcement to combat IUU through the Offshore Fisheries Management Division, which coordinates and manages the offshore fisheries operations, including research, assessment, and development. And the Inshore Fisheries Management Division oversees and handles monitoring, control, surveillance, and enforcement in the inshore area and the collection of fisheries-dependent data from municipal markets and landing sites. Honorable Speaker, recently a significant undertaking by the Ministry is the amendment of the Fisheries Act, Bill 33 of 2025, which introduces a new section on the appointment of authorized officers and further enhances and expands their powers to search land premises. It also establishes the issuance of an inshore fixed penalty notice as the initial setup to deter non-compliance. Honorable Speaker, the Fisheries Surveillance and Operations Center, located in the Ministry of Fisheries Wallo Bay office, serves as the central hub for Fiji's monitoring, control, and surveillance operations. It functions and has an information sector that gathers data from various sources, integrates and analyzes it to generate actionable intelligence. Honorable Speaker, the center operates essentially as a maritime air traffic control for fishing vessels. It uses specialized software that integrates diverse data streams into a single visualization platform with a live map displayed on large screens. The center analyzes data streams from the Vessel Monitoring System, or VMS, satellite imagery, Automatic Identification System, or AIS, Electronic Monitoring System, EMS, and electronic reporting to track vessel movements and fishing activity within Fiji fisheries waters. Honorable Speaker, when the center detects IUU activity, intelligence is packaged and relayed to our enforcement assets, such as the Fiji Navy, for an at-sea interception, or to our authorized officers that are gazetted under the Offshore Fisheries Management Act for a priority boarding when a vessel arrives in port. Honorable Speaker, the Pacific Island Forum Fisheries Agency Vessel Monitoring System sends data to the center. This satellite-based vessel tracking system offers a near real-time picture of where fishing boats are located within the exclusive economic zones of member countries and in the nearby high seas. Honorable Speaker, the Vessel Monitoring System is primarily a surveillance tool used by Pacific Island nations to monitor fishing activities across the vast Western and Central Pacific Ocean. It is mandatory to be installed on industrial commercial fishing boats operating in the region as a licensing requirement. Honorable Speaker, the electronic monitoring system is an installed camera on domestic longline fishing vessels that sends specific data types to the center. The EMS complements the vessel monitoring system by serving as the eyes on the boat. EMS is a tool used for collecting scientific data in the absence of human observers. Honorable Speaker, Fiji has proactively pioneered EMS on our longline fleet, especially for fishing longer at sea, which is difficult to monitor with human observers. This includes the detection of illegal discarding of fish, retention of prohibited species, mistreatment of bycatch such as sharks, turtles, or seabirds, and unauthorized transshipment or transferring of fish to another boat at sea. Honorable Speaker, Fiji's strategy on combating IUU is comprehensive and includes several other vital initiatives and agreements beyond satellite tracking and cameras. This agreement includes 1, the Port State Measures Agreement. Fiji has been party to the Port State Measures Agreement, or PSMA, since 2019. As a significant regional hub for tuna landing and processing, this is a critical choke point. Fiji exercises its right to implement strict measures for pre-inspection checks and boarding of all fishing vessels entering our port and to verify landed catch against the documentation provided. Honorable Speaker, Fiji is transitioning rapidly from paper logbooks to electronic reporting, with boat captains required to submit daily catch logs via satellite tablets, also known as e-logs, while at sea. This real-time data transmission aims to improve efficiency, combat illegal fishing, and increase transparency. Honorable Speaker, Fiji is an active participant in the Niue Treaty subsidiary agreement, which allows for flexible cooperation in monitoring and enforcement. It enables Fiji to share resources and data with neighboring Pacific countries, conduct joint surface patrols, and even authorize patrol boats from neighboring allied nations to conduct enforcement activities within Fiji's waters under certain conditions. Honorable Speaker, while technology is essential, physical presence remains important. Fiji conducts surface patrols using Fiji Navy assets. Additionally, Fiji depends heavily on regional defense partners such as Australia, New Zealand, France, and the United States through the Foreign Fisheries Agency, such as Operation Tuimoana, Operation NAS, Operation Big Eye, Operation Island Chief, and Operation Kurukuru, to provide aerial surveillance support. Maritime patrol aircraft offer vital visual confirmation of vessel identities and activities detected by the video monitoring system. Honorable Speaker, even though the inshore area lacks support for advanced technological monitoring and surveillance, it benefits from strong sectorial cooperation and on-the-ground surveillance with enforcement agency, customary fishing right owners, and concerned citizens to track illegal activities within the inshore areas, including markets and outlets. The Ministry acknowledges the support from concerned citizens in providing information on and reporting illegal activities. Honorable Speaker, in partnership with our enforcement agencies, the Ministry has been conducting surveillance and enforcement operations across Fiji's inshore waters. Enforcement actions resulted in investigation and case filings, court hearings, and the delivery of specialized capacity building training, as well as intelligence and awareness products. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry will continue to strengthen intelligence gathering, surveillance, and compliance reporting, as well as targeted community awareness efforts to support voluntary compliance. Honorable Speaker, to improve operations and combat IUU in the inshore area, the Ministry undertakes interagency cooperation, including established information gathering mechanisms, such as the secondment arrangement with the Fiji Navy, and enhanced collaboration with divisional enforcement teams and key partners. Honorable Speaker, the illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing will continue to increase as it links with trafficking and other human rights violations. With that, the Ministry will continue to improve and increase surveillance and enforcement through advanced technology and cooperation. In addition, Honorable Speaker, invest in tailor-made advanced technology for a localized method that fits the inshore small-scale commercial fishing boats to increase the combat against IUU in the inshore area. Honorable Speaker, in complementing the current work on the ground and to effectively address and combat IUU, the Ministry is advancing efforts to improve transparency in our fisheries management and governance. Fisheries transparency is about public availability of information on our fishing industry and meaningful participation of relevant stakeholders such as communities and partners in the decision-making process. In addition, Honorable Speaker, the Ministry is progressing in seafood supply chain traceability, which allows consumers and regulators to trace fish from the point of capture to the point of sale and to consumers. It is about improving market access for sustainable products, strengthening food security and standards, and meeting international regulatory requirements to contribute to a sustainable fisheries sector and stronger economic growth. Honorable Speaker, the Minister of Fisheries is mandated to manage our fisheries waters to ensure the sustainability and health of our fisheries stock and associated biodiversity for the well-being of all Fijians. The Ministry is committed to enhancing its efforts to fight illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, demonstrating Fiji's position on a responsible ocean stewardship and also ensuring a safe, secure, and a prosperous future for all Fijians. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak, Honorable Speaker.
I thank the Minister, the Honourable Banivalu, for her statement. I will now invite the Leader of the Opposition or his designate for his response.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the ministerial statement delivered by the Minister of Fisheries and Forestry, Honourable Alitiam Banivalu. I thank the Minister for the detailed delivery that she made on her statement this morning on combating illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing within Fiji's fisheries waters. Honourable Speaker, the Honourable Minister has articulated the various issues that covers IUU, and she has highlighted the very issues in regards to the tools that are available and used by the Ministry of Fisheries to monitor the maritime activity in real time and coordinated targeted enforcement operations. She has also highlighted the operational efforts to ensure comprehensive compliance within our vast EEZ. Honourable Speaker, sir, in the areas that she has alluded to, there's a concerted effort by Ministry of Fisheries and the Fiji government to try and regulate and protect the vast EEZ that we have. And she has highlighted the Fisheries Surveillance Center at the Offshore Fisheries in Lami. She has also highlighted VMS, the Vessel Monitoring System, and EMS, the electronic monitoring system that are installed on board the fishing vessels that fish within our areas. She has also highlighted the port state message. This is basically another avenue that Fiji can coordinate and relate to the fishing activities within our EZ by making sure that the vessel that comes into our harbor are checked and ensured that they've carried out legal activities. Honourable Speaker, sir, fishing in areas of Fiji which covers unregulated fishing are mainly in areas that are not allowed to be harvested due to conservation or management measures, and fishing that are carried out in a manner that is not consistent to the state or international law. I think the consequences of Fiji not being able to carry out this will result in environmental damage, economic impact, social and security threats. In combating IUU, she has highlighted the various agencies that Fiji works with to be able to assist and monitor the fishing activities within Fiji's EEZ. And she has highlighted the assistance from Australia, New Zealand, the US, and also France in monitoring and providing the air cover that is available to the government and the Ministry of Fisheries to assist them to monitor the huge, vast EEZ that we have in Fiji. I wanted to highlight a matter for IUU, basically to the Honourable Minister, which covers basically the vessels that are licensed and are qualified and legal to fish within our EEZ. And I think she has highlighted VMS as one of the areas that she is trying to monitor this. The illegal fishing vessels in Fiji also carry out illegal activities. And that is why the Ministry of Fisheries has observers and then an electronic monitoring camera that is monitored in each vessel. It is important, if I may suggest, Honourable Minister, that we monitor our legal fishing vessels that do illegal activities within their fishing operations. And you highlighted on the port state measures that have been carried out, and this is a secondary exercise that you can ensure that the fish or the species that are being caught are being allowed by the specific vessels that are legally and licensed to fish in our EEZ. Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir.
I thank the Honourable Correlo Sau for his statement on behalf of the opposition. Thank you, honorable members. We will now move to the next item on the order paper. Secretary General.
Questions?
In respect to the first question, honorable members, I have been informed just this morning that the Minister of Multi-Ethnic Affairs and Sugar Industry, the Honorable Charan Singh's mother, sadly passed yesterday. That is, brother. I do apologize, I haven't been misinformed. In any case, that is the reason why he is not with us today and for the rest of the week. So the question 298-2025, directed to the Minister, will be deferred to a later date, and the Business Committee will deal with it accordingly. So we will move on to the second oral question 267 of 225 has been withdrawn by the Honorable Ratu Rakuitawala Lambure. So the third oral question for today, I'll call on the Honorable Joseph Nand to ask question 268 of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 268 of 2025 to the Minister for Employment, Productivity and Workplace Relations. Can the Minister inform Parliament if there are any plans to develop a social protection scheme for workers in the informal sector? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I call on the Minister for Employment, Productivity and Workplace Relations, the Honorable Agnes Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I thank the honourable member for the question. Sir, before I respond to the question, I would like to pay tribute to the former Permanent Secretary for Labour, Mr. Taito Romba Wanga, who passed away last week. He served on various boards, including the NTPC board, of which I was the chair at one time. He also served diligently on the FNPF board, ATH board, Employment Relations Advisory Board, the NOSHA board, and the National Employment Center, and other boards. Mr. Wanga led the labor reforms from early 1990s and was instrumental in modernizing the labor legislations. May his soul rest in peace in the heavenly abode. Mr. Speaker, sir, the ILO defines social protection as a set of policies and programs designed to reduce and prevent poverty, vulnerability, and social exclusion throughout people's lives. It is considered a universal human right and includes areas like health, employment, and other social benefits. Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a bread and butter issue, and the coalition government has plans in place to ensure that Fijian workers are covered in terms of social protection. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Employment Relations Act 2007 and the Health and Safety at Work Act 1996 cover workers in the informal sector in the following areas. The minimum wages, they're entitled to minimum wages, and other entitlements, they're entitled to annual leave and meal allowances. Mr. Speaker, sir, the coalition government has a couple of years ago increased the minimum wages and the 10 sectorial wages as well. They're also entitled to safe and healthy work environment, proper equipment, and proper personal protection gear. Mr. Speaker, sir, there are compliance procedures in place that we enforce to ensure that these workers are not deprived of their fundamental employment rights. Mr. Speaker, sir, the ministry is currently working on the employment laws reform and plans to formulate regulations to support the Employment Relations Bill to further strengthen the workers' social protection entitlements. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are also in the process of establishing the 11th sectorial wages council. There are 10 wages councils that we have restored, and now the 11th one, which will include workers that are not covered by the 10 current wages councils. Mr. Speaker, sir, these provisions are in addition to the existing social protection schemes provided by various government agencies like education, social welfare, health, subsidy on water, electricity, and of course the tax threshold of 30,000. All those who earn below 30,000 do not pay any tax in this country, and that is almost 80% of our wage earners. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank you for the opportunity.
I thank the Minister, the Honourable Agni Singh, for his reply. Are there any supplementary questions? I recognize Honourable Joseph Nand.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Supplementary question to the Minister. How is the Ministry assisting those that have lost their jobs in informal sector? Question is there any specific separate scheme such as unemployment fund where members can access till they find another employment?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, there is provision for redundancy payment by employers if workers are laid off. That's the current provision. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move on to the fourth oral question. I will now call on the Honourable Kalaveti Ravu to ask question 269 of 2025. Honourable Ravu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to ask question 269 of 2025, directed to the Minister of Public Works, Meteorological Services and Transport. Can the Minister update Parliament on the latest Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC, International Maritime Organization, IMO, developments in terms of transitions to renewable energy? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I invite the Minister for Public Works, Meteorological Services and Transport, the Honourable Raw Philippe Tusawao.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I thank the honourable member for the question. At the outset, I wish to acknowledge the important work undertaken by the Fiji delegation to COP30 in Belém, Brazil, which was led by the Honourable Moses Mbulitavo, Minister for Environment and Climate Change, and also Honourable Naisa Tuinathel, Assistant Minister. The Fiji delegation played a significant role in advancing global conversation on climate ambition, particularly regarding emissions reductions across all major sectors. COP30 reaffirmed that achieving the 1.5-degree temperature goal requires urgent mitigation efforts in maritime transport, a sector critical to Fiji's trade, connectivity, and inter-island mobility. The outcomes of COP30 strongly emphasize alignment with negotiations at the International Maritime Organization, IMO, recognizing the IMO as the specialized UN agency mandated to regulate shipping emissions. Thus, the work undertaken at COP30 directly complements and reinforces Fiji's engagement in the IMO, particularly through the Maritime Environment Protection Committee and the development of the Net Zero Framework. The second extraordinary session of the Marine Environment Protection Committee, MEPC, was held on the 14 to 17 October 2025 at the IMO headquarters in London, with participation from 127 member states, including the Pacific States, small island developing states, of course, including Fiji. The meeting was critical for advancing the global agenda for decarbonizing international shipping. The session was followed by the 20th Intersessional Working Group on Greenhouse Gas Emissions, which met to further technical work required to support the IMO's climate commitments. The IMO's Net Zero Framework, NZF, agreed in principle at MEPC to propose a global approach to achieving net zero greenhouse gas emissions from shipping by or around 2050. It introduces a global fuel standard to progressively limit the carbon intensity of marine fuels and global emissions pricing mechanisms, which ships pay levies based on carbon intensity. Ships using high carbon fuels would pay US $380 per ton of CO2 equivalent emissions, while lower carbon exceedances attracted US $100 per ton. Ships operating on zero and near zero Z and Z fuels would be eligible for rewards through the IMO Net Zero Fund. For Fiji, alongside Pacific Seeds and the wider Six-Pack Coalition, it strongly supported the adoption of the net zero framework. Our delegation emphasized the critical importance for maintaining the 1.5 degrees pathway and ensuring a just and equitable transition for vulnerable developing states. Despite the strong advocacy, the NZF was not adopted. The decision was deferred by 1 year following a vote of 57 to 49, reflecting deep divisions over whether the NZF should proceed under the IMO's long-standing acceptance procedure or through explicit acceptance, which several major economies argued was necessary due to technical scale and the redistributive nature of the proposed fund. So it is important to note there are a number of the countries voted against the adoption of the NZF, did so under considerable pressure exerted by more economically powerful member states whose geopolitical and commercial interests influenced the voting outcome. This significantly impacted the ability of the IMO to reach timely agreement on a framework that is vital for the decarbonization of global shipping and safeguarding the interests of vulnerable nations such as Fiji. Much of the session was consumed by procedural debates. Several member states questioned whether MARPOL Annex 6 has the legal mandate to administer global economic mechanism, while others sought assurances on revenue allocation, technology transfer, and capacity building for developing nations. Concerns also arose regarding transparency and informal consultations, which contributed to mistrust and ultimately prevented consensus on adopting the NZF, Net Zero Framework. Following the adjournment, the ISWG proceeded under its mandate from MEPC. Despite uncertainties, discussions advanced on guidelines needed to implement the NZF, the refinement of the life cycle GHG assessment framework, and the development of the terms of reference for the fifth IMO GHG study. Fiji's positions on ZNZ fuels, reward mechanisms, governance structures, and representation was strongly reflected on the working group's report. Fiji also joined the newly established NZF, Net Zero Framework Supporters Group, coordinated by Mexico and the United Kingdom, to strengthen coordination ahead of the reconvened session in October 2026. Speaker, sir, the delay in adopting the Net Zero Framework carries significant implications for Fiji's maritime transport system. The NZF would have unlocked critical climate finance to modernize Fiji's fleets, support hybrid and electrical vessel technologies, and expand solar-powered jetty infrastructure across the islands. Its postponement delays this much-needed support. The absence of a clear global regulatory pathway also creates uncertainty for shipping operators, slowing investment in energy-efficient vessels and renewable maritime technologies. Delays in deploying zero-emission vessels internationally also hinders Fiji's domestic maritime transition, affecting alignment with our nationally determined contributions, the Transport Decarbonization Implement Strategy and the Transport Sector Master Plan. Furthermore, without a global levy on high-carbon maritime fuels, Fiji remains vulnerable to volatile oil prices, with freight costs, inter-island travel, and the long-term sustainability of the government shipping franchise scheme. In conclusion, despite the setback, MEPC remains resolute in its climate leadership and its commitment to safeguarding the interests of vulnerable states. Fiji will continue to champion globalization and multilateralism within the IMO process, recognizing that only through a strong, cooperative, rules-based international system can we ensure fair, ambitious, equitable, just, and science-aligned outcomes for the global maritime sector. Fiji will continue to work closely with our Pacific partners, the NZF Supporters Group, and the wider international community to advocate for the timely adoption of the Net Zero Framework at the reconvened extraordinary session in 2026, with ambition firmly aligned to the 1.5 degree limit. So I also wish to inform the House that Fiji will continue to maintain an active presence in all upcoming negotiations. It will be represented at the ISWG GSG meeting scheduled for 20 to 24 April, and subsequently the MEC 84 session in April, and we will continue to reinforce our positions on transparency, a just and equitable transition, enhanced support for seeds, and the urgent need for global measures to decarbonize international shipping. Through continued engagement, we will ensure that our national interests, regional priorities, and the long-term maritime resilience objectives are strongly reflected in the global decision-making process. Navalu.
Thank the Minister, the Honourable Rod Tissoau, for his response. Supplementary, Honourable Corey Lapsa. You have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, sir. And I thank the Honourable Minister for his detailed explanation. And I know for Fiji it's a great challenge to go with net zero 2050, being 25 years away with global challenges by the big countries that service the shipping routes. I understand the situation that the Honourable Minister has stated this morning. I just wanted to ask the Minister if he has considered actually deriving maximum returns on the climate finance while discussing these issues. It's just something that I thought I should ask the Minister this morning.
The Honourable Minister.
Yes, as already explained, we had also prepared concept papers on various projects, including on decarbonization of the maritime sector, in terms of moving forward, because this is one of the levy is one of the options, but the negotiations continue and it'll take time. So in the meantime, we are looking at other angles in terms of approaching climate financing, and that was one of the tasks for our Assistant Minister to COP with the Honourable Minister for Environment and Climate Change. I'd like to thank them, and I believe that we have, not only this one, but the last COP, we have engaged in that regard for the various climate financing avenues for the various sectors in the ministry, including maritime transport.
Thank you. The Honourable Usmate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So it's a real shame that countries that have led to this global climatic catastrophe are now putting in the roadblocks. I think they've been referred to in the past as the coalition of the selfish in terms of trying to put a halt to the carbon zero targets. I'm just thinking, Mr. Speaker, sir, in terms of trying to get the financing, is there any sort of a process for, is it just for the government ships? I know we have a lot of our government shipping that's quite outmoded. Is there any programs to try to move them, at least, because we have our NDC targets? And I know transport is the biggest source of emission. Is there any plans in particular for our government shipping to move towards carbon zero by 2050? Is there any sort of timeline or some projects in line for that?
Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Yes, it's not an easy process, because it can be not only, when you talk about decarbonization, it involves both the fuel and also the design of the ships, and also including the technologies relating to renewable energy, whether it's sails or more efficient engines. But moving forward, the government ships, it would be uneconomical to rejig the ships to some sort of renewable energy mode in terms of fuel. So moving forward, for example, we already signed an agreement with the Japanese government together with the Ministry of Rural Development for the provision of new ship, not only for government services, but also especially for disaster management. So that incorporates some of the issues we are talking about in terms of more cost more cost-effective fuels or more efficient fuels moving forward, and elements of solar energy. So that's the way we would be moving forward. Acquisition of new ships, which are more aligned with the latest fuels in terms of energy efficiency, and also incorporating renewable energy in some of the operations of the ships. Thank you.
Okay, the next oral question for today, I now call on the Honorable Laham Chan to ask question 270 of 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to ask question 270 of 2025. The question is to Minister for Education. Can the Minister inform Parliament on the enrollment criteria used by government secondary schools to enroll Year 9 students?
Thank you. I call on the Minister for Education, the Honorable Asir Randondo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. There are 11 government secondary schools, and all these government schools have collaboratively established a standard and transparent set of enrollment guidelines to ensure fairness and equity. Mr. Speaker, a standard application form for all government schools have been developed and introduced by the Ministry of Education since 2024, utilized by students applying for new intakes into the respective government schools. And these forms are distributed to students and parents, guidance through the Ministry of Education headquarters, divisional officers, district officers, and also from the respective government schools. Mr. Speaker, so it is important to understand that over the years, high-performing government schools have always been sought after. Some of these schools are namely Natambua High School, Mombasa College, QVS, RKS, ACS, Suva Grammar School, Senior Secondary, Sila Central High School, Bunisea Secondary School, and Budalevu Secondary School. Usually for those above-mentioned schools, the heads of school follows the government set enrollment criteria, but also looks at other issues like the quality of marks attained in the normal national examinations, and determine this along with other criteria that may include sports abilities and other leadership skills and attributes. A lot of government schools, Mr. Speaker, sir, set standards to ensure high passing rates for their schools are not compromised, and government, being the controlling authority, expects a high performance from these respective schools, whereby students, teachers, and heads of schools, and with the reintroduction of Board of Governors, closely observed to ensure maximum return of government investments. The following criteria have been set to guide the selection process for students who have been accepted to enroll in the respective government school, and I believe the honourable member is fully aware of these standard criteria. One is the academic merit. Mr. Speaker, sir, students must sustain a passing mark in both the Year 8 annual national examination. All selected students will undergo a standard interview process set by the heads of school and monitored by the Foreign Secretary for Education in the respective officers in the divisions and districts. Benchmarking is important in enrolling students into high schools. The Ministry of Education maintains benchmarking for government schools at a minimum of 250 marks, which is based on English plus best 4 subjects. A pass of 50 marks in English plus 4 subjects, which good marks may guarantee entry into schools. Mr. Speaker, sir, depending on the high volume of applicants and marks attained, government schools are understood to select students to also fit into their expected outputs, which primarily should promote the provision of quality education and lifelong learning skills. The second criteria is disadvantaged maritime, rural, and remote schools for boarding. Mr. Speaker, sir, all government schools have boarding facilities except Sila Central High School and Suva Grammar School. priority for boarding is usually given to students from maritime and rural remote primary schools that have no access to a secondary school nearby, or where students face extreme difficulty reaching the nearest secondary school. At times, schools will also pay consideration to the background of a child who may need to be in a boarding facility due to their home environment or family situation for their safety and upkeeping. The third criteria is socially disadvantaged students, welfare referrals. Government schools maintain a quota system that also guides the enrollment of students who are socially disadvantaged. Referrals from to the Ministry of Education from the Ministry of Social Welfare and some NGOs through the divisional commissioners, divisional education officers, and other relevant organizations may be considered, provided proper supporting documents are submitted. This reflects ongoing commitment to government's commitment principles of leaving no child behind. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is also important to note that respective government schools also maintain a quota for landowners' children where schools are built. Consideration is also given for quotas for all scholars who are an important stakeholders of schools as they continue to be involved in maintaining the schools. And likewise, considerations is given for government ministries to accommodate civil servants' children and others who may be affected by parental transfers, etc. The fourth criteria is this called priorities. Mr. Speaker, sir, after enrolling maritime and rural remote students, schools will admit their scholars based on the applications, and priority is given to feeder schools without access to a nearby secondary school, siblings of current students or children of teachers currently teaching at the school. Speaker, sir, through these measures undertaken by the Ministry of Education, ensure that the Year 9 enrollment process in government schools remain objective, equitable, and accessible to all eligible students. Mr. Speaker, sir, all Year 8 students for 2025 who wish to get enrolled in government schools in the 2026 academic year have been given equal opportunities to apply. Based on the criteria mentioned earlier, heads of government schools will finalize a list which are then submitted to the Ministry of Education for approval. An announcement will be made on the PG radio program and Dominibuli.
I thank the Minister for Education, the Honourable Rondo, for his response. Supplementary, Honourable Chan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank the Honourable Minister for the response. I hope there is no condition attached like the enrollment levy. The criteria on paper, Honourable Minister, it's very clear, but adherence is an issue. We have seen that yesterday. My question to the Honourable Minister is, how will Ministry ensure that the school heads, they adhere to the criteria and the enrollment is carried out fairly without favoritism so that the deserving students are enrolled?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. We have bettered the process now, not according to during your time when you were ahead of. But we, as I mentioned, the process that we have now introduced promotes inclusiveness and equity and fairness in terms of selection of students into government schools.
Honourable Maharaj.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I thank Honourable Minister for his response, especially with the criteria of enrollments to Year 9 students into government secondary school. While my supplementary question is related to Year 9 students being enrolled in schools and not directly to the government schools, my question is, why has MGM school placed a compulsory enrollment levy of $200 to $250 to be enrolled in Year 9? It's an issue, Honourable Speaker. I'm just bringing it to the concern of the relevant minister.
One moment.
It's for
I recall from yesterday that this question was asked yesterday and was answered, not in particular the school that was involved, but the levy of 250 was asked of yesterday. And if I can recall, the minister had responded accordingly, and it's all over the media today. If I'm reading everything right. So your question is?
My question is anything going to be done with regards to this compulsory enrollment levy of $200 to $250, Honorable Speaker, for the Year 9 students? It's for the Year 9 students, Honorable Speaker. After the Parliament yesterday, we received certain calls, people confirming that still the school is imposing the $200 to $250. It's just a concern to the Minister of Education for him to revisit this particular school, because they are definitely not following the memo.
Honorable Member, what is the question?
My question is, why has MGM placed a compulsory enrollment levy of $200 to $250 for Year 9 students to be enrolled at MGM school?
Thank you. Honorable Minister, do you wish to answer that question? It has been answered. In fact, it has been answered yesterday. If I'm reading correctly the exchanges yesterday, he did say that it's not in order for any school to levy any fees. And that is the answer, to be very frank. They continue to levy, Minister?
Mr. Speaker, sir, as I mentioned yesterday, the levy is on a voluntary basis. It's not compulsory. A request from
Thank you. Yes, thank you, honorable members. I think that is clear enough, the answer, and if it needs to be taken up further, then it is outside of the perimeters of this House. All right. Thank you, honorable members. At this point, we will suspend our proceedings for lunch, and Parliament will resume at 2:30 p.m.